Axel versus Truman. Halfway through this duel, Truman, a minion of the final villain, the Darkness, takes on the form of Axel's dad and begins reminding him of his inner darkness. You see, as a child, Axel was given an impossible choice: to save his dad or save his mom. To decide, Axel cleared his mind. He evaluated the situation and made a choice based on logic. He chose to save his dad since he possessed the necessary skills to survive in the wild after. Luckily, everything works out. Axel's dad wakes up, saves his mom, everybody's fine afterwards. Except for Axel's psyche. In Axel's mind, he had basically killed his own mother. To him, looking back on the whole thing, he just wished he never had to make that choice at all. He would rather have all three of them died than to now know, I would have let my mom die so I could save my dad, kind of thing. Kind of messed up. So with that in mind, this duel is kind of messed up because the Darkness is exploiting this weakness, as this duel parallels the decision Axel made on that fateful day. It made me wonder, if Axel chose to save his mother, represented in this duel as Volcanic Queen, instead of his father, represented in this duel by Volcanic Doomfire, would the outcome of the duel have changed? Or with any ulterior plays, would the outcome have been different? We won't know unless we jump into the duel. The duel begins and Axel goes first. He draws, and his opening hand consists of Volcanic Slicer, Switch Off, Big Volcano, Volcanic Mine, Volcanic Doomfire, and Buster Trap. Axel starts by summoning his Volcanic Slicer into attack. He activates its effect to burn for 500 damage at the cost of it being unable to attack this turn. Truman takes the first damage of the duel. Axel sets his Buster Trap face down and then ends his turn. Right off the bat, Axel's got a lot of cards in his hand that he can set face down. Were they worth setting on the field? Let's assess them. He has Switch Off, a card that has the ability to negate a continuous spell or trap on the field, then change a defense position monster into attack. A good card, but it requires a monster to be on the field in defense to be activated, so I guess that's kind of troublesome. What's that? What does his next card do? Volcanic Mine, which summons bomb tokens into all empty zones the opponent has into defense. They then destroy themselves during the end phase. Oh, okay, so this card makes that card live, so he definitely could have set these two face down. We also have Big Volcano, which lets him send one Pyro monster in his hand to the grave to special summon two monsters in the opponent's grave to the field. The opponent chooses their battle positions for them. This card could also be seen as an alternative way to get a monster into defense if the opponent wants to go on the defensive, but not necessarily important in this card right now. And lastly, he has Volcanic Doomfire in his hand, which is currently unplayable. The moral of the story here is Axel 100% should have set Switch Off and Volcanic Mine face down here, or at the very least on his next turn, because they're going to become very handy. And we'll find out why in a minute. It's Truman's turn, and he draws. His opening hand consists of Dark Archetype, Volcanic Blaster, Volcanic Curse, Flame Wall, the Unchosen One, and Firewall. Truman starts by summoning his Dark Archetype. Despite having less attack points, he orders it to attack Volcanic Slicer. Dark Archetype is destroyed. However, due to Dark Archetype's effect, since it was destroyed by battle, it lets Truman special summon a monster in his deck with attack equal to the damage he took, as long as he discards a monster with the same level. Since he took 400 damage, he sends Volcanic Blaster, which is a level 3 monster, in order to summon the 400 attack, level 3 monster in his deck, Dark Psycho Eye. Axel, not knowing what this card can do, activates his set Buster Trap, which destroys a monster special summoned during the battle phase and then immediately ends the battle phase. Dark Psycho Eye is destroyed and the battle phase comes to an end. It's at this point in the duel that Truman takes on the form of Axel's dad. Following this, Truman reveals since Dark Psycho Eye was destroyed, its effect lets Truman take control of a monster Axel controls until the end of the turn. He takes Volcanic Slicer. Since it hasn't attacked, he uses its effect to deal 500 damage to Axel. Truman sets his Firewall Trap face down and then ends his turn. As he does, Volcanic Slicer returns back to Axel's side of the field. Now, it's worth noting that Axel used that Buster Trap to destroy Truman's monster without really knowing what it could do. So, would it have been better to just let him attack or do whatever he was going to do with that monster? No, it wouldn't have been. It's actually a good thing that he used that Buster Trap. This is because Truman most likely would have crashed his monster into Volcanic Slicer, costing himself 1400 life points. However, he would then be able to take Volcanic Slicer and attack Axel directly for 1800 damage. meaning Truman would have 1700 life points left and Axel would have 2200. Fun fact, the duel would play out exactly the same despite this life point discrepancy. However, now with only 2200 life points that Axel has, he would lose earlier, around the time that Volcanic Queen hits the field. So it's actually a good thing Buster Trap wasn't activated. It's Axel's turn, and he draws Blaze Accelerator. He immediately enters his battle phase and uses Volcanic Slicer to attack Truman directly. However, Truman activates his set, Firewall. Now, whenever Truman is attacked directly, he can banish a Pyro-type monster in his grave to negate the attack. However, he must also pay 500 life points during each of his standby phases to keep this card on the field. Truman banishes Volcanic Blaster in his grave. Firewall negates the direct attack from Volcanic Slicer. With no further plays, Axel ends his turn. It's back to Truman, and he draws Volcanic Wall. The standby phase occurs, and Truman pays the 500 life points to keep Firewall on the field. Truman activates his continuous spell, Flame Wall. This card makes it so that he takes no further damage from opponent's card's effects, essentially shutting off Axel's win condition. He follows this play up by activating his second continuous spell, Volcanic Wall. Now, once per turn, he can mill the top 3 cards of his deck to the grave. If any Pyro monsters go to the grave this way, the opponent takes 500 damage for each. However, by doing this, Truman cannot declare an attack that turn. Foregoing his battle phase, he uses Volcanic Wall. Volcanic Rat, Volcanic Cyclone, and Volcanic Shell are sent to the grave. Since 2 Pyro monsters went to the grave, Axel takes 1000 damage. Truman ends his turn. It's Axel's turn, and he draws Tri-Blaze Accelerator. With all the pieces in place, Axel activates Blaze Accelerator. He then immediately sends it to the grave to upgrade it into Tri-Blaze Accelerator. He then immediately sends that to the grave in order to upgrade it into his ace monster, Volcanic Doomfire. Now, with this monster on the field, the opponent must attack Doomfire if they enter their battle phase with any attack position monsters. If this card destroys a monster in battle, all other monsters the opponent controls are also destroyed, and 500 damage is dealt for each one destroyed this way. And so, Axel attacks Truman directly with Doomfire and Slicer. Truman banishes his only 2 Pyro monsters in the grave, Volcanic Rat and Volcanic Shell, to negate both of the direct attacks. Axel ends his turn by setting Switch Off and Volcanic Mine. And here is where Axel could have won the duel. The play he plans to do on his next turn is what he could have done on this turn. All he had to do was set those 2 cards face down on his last turn or his first turn. You see, Axel makes the classic Yu-Gi-Oh character error of showing the audience what he plans to do. If any character in any of the series shows you what they're about to do on their next turn, it's not gonna happen. Classic rookie move there. But because of this, we know his plan was he was gonna use Volcanic Mine to special summon 5 bomb tokens to Truman's field. Then he was gonna activate Switch Off to negate the effect of Flame Wall and switch one of the bomb tokens into attack. This means that burn damage is not only back on the menu, but we have a way of dealing battle damage and effect damage. Axel would use Doomfire to attack into the attack position bomb token, that's 2000 battle damage, followed by 2000 effect damage from blowing up the 4 other tokens. This would win Axel the duel. Ultimately, this play won't work out, but had he done all of this on this turn, he would have won the duel. And this isn't even a hindsight thing. With Firewall on the field preventing direct attacks, that also would have been a worthwhile thing to negate if the other cards didn't get played on the field. The only defense Truman could have done in hindsight, knowing that this is all going to go this way, is he could have set his Volcanic Curse face down prior to this turn, since that card increases the attack of attacked monster by 500 for every Pyro in the grave. However, with only 2 Pyros in the grave, Doomfire would still win in a battle against an attack position token. However, Axel would only be able to deal 3000 damage, and since Truman has 3100, he'd have 100 life points left over, and we can't attack directly with Volcanic Slicer because of Firewall. But that doesn't matter, because we've negated Flame Wall. We don't need to attack with Volcanic Slicer. We just move into our main phase 2, activate the effect of Volcanic Slicer, burn for 500 damage. Axel's won the duel. So there you go. Axel could have 100% won this duel if he had set these 2 cards face down on a previous turn. Misplay Axel, you cost yourself the duel. It's Truman's turn, and the penultimate turn of the duel. He draws and gets Volcanic Queen. The standby phase occurs and Truman again pays the maintenance cost to keep Firewall in play. Using the effect of the Volcanic Queen in his hand, Truman tributes Axel's Volcanic Slicer to summon it to Axel's side of the field.
Mommy!
Truman, wanting to traumatize Axel, activates his The Unchosen One. This card forces Axel to make a decision. He must choose one monster on his side of the field to save. The card chosen remains on the field, while all others are destroyed. Then, one of the destroyed monsters is summoned to the opponent's side of the field. If we haven't noticed, Volcanic Queen represents Axel's mom, Volcanic Doomfire represents Axel's dad. Axel now has to make the choice, save his mom or save his dad. I mean save Volcanic Doomfire or save Volcanic Queen. Axel, again forced to make an impossible choice, has a quick glance at Volcanic Queen's effect. He deduces Volcanic Doomfire has the necessary effects needed to help him survive the duel. And so, mirroring the past, he again chooses to save the statistically better choice, Volcanic Doomfire. Switch off, Volcanic Mine and Volcanic Queen are destroyed. Truman summons Volcanic Queen to his side of the field thanks to the second effect of the Unchosen One. Truman, unable to attack over Doomfire, activates his Volcanic Wall. He mills the top 3 cards of his deck, sending Volcanic Hammerer, Bonfire, and Volcanic Rats. Since 2 Pyros were sent to the grave, Axel takes 1000 damage. Truman then activates the effect of Volcanic Queen. He can send 1 card he controls to the grave to inflict 1000 damage to the opponent. He sends Flame Wall. Truman ends his turn by setting his Volcanic Curse face down. As he does, the maintenance cost of Volcanic Queen kicks in, which is either a monster on the field needs to be tributed or the wielder must take 1000 damage. Since Truman controls no other monsters, he takes 1000 damage. It's Axel's turn, and the final turn of the duel. He draws and gets Volcanic Scattershot. He activates Big Volcano. Now, by discarding 1 Pyro monster, he can special summon 2 monsters in the opponent's grave to their side of the field, but the opponent chooses their battle positions. Axel discards Volcanic Scattershot. Volcanic Rat and Volcanic Hammerer are summoned to Truman's side of the field into defense. Due to Scattershot's effect, since it was sent to the grave, it inflicts 500 damage to the opponent. Axel enters his battle phase and orders Volcanic Doomfire to attack Volcanic Queen. If this attack is successful, Truman will take 500 battle damage followed by 1000 burn damage, resulting in Truman losing the duel. However, Truman has one final play. He activates Volcanic Curse. This card increases the attack of one of his monsters by 500 for each Pyro monster in each player's grave. With 2 Pyros in Axel's grave, Queen gains 1000 attack points. Volcanic Queen instead destroys Volcanic Doomfire in the battle. With only 500 life points left, Axel loses the duel. But did he really have to?
Daddy, Mommy, こうすればよかったんだね。この絶望の中で、こうやって3人で。
You see, there's actually no reason why Axel couldn't have attacked the tiny little Volcanic Rat instead of attacking into Volcanic Queen. This is because Truman only has 600 life points left. 2 monsters would have been destroyed via Doomfire's effect, dealing 1000 burn damage. Truman got rid of Flame Wall previously, so burn damage isn't being nullified. And you might say, well, this is a hindsight thing. He wanted to attack into the monster because that would have dealt damage and helped him win the duel. But let's be honest, if we're going by the logic of the show, I assume that Axel wouldn't want to attack into the representation of his mom and destroy it. It still gets destroyed, don't get me wrong, by Doomfire's effect, but he can attack into the rat, kill the rat, and they're killed by like byproducts kind of thing. So, you know, I think it makes sense that he probably should have attacked one of the other monsters. And then had he done that, if Truman did use his trap card, well, it won't do anything because he summoned his monsters into defense. And even if he would have summoned them in attack, it would have been enough of an attack boost if he attacked into the rat anyway. So, with that all out of the way, yes, Axel definitely could have won this duel in a few different ways. And to answer the question I posed earlier, would Axel have won if he'd taken Volcanic Queen instead of Doomfire? No, if he'd have taken Volcanic Queen, he would have lost very quickly. It was the right choice not to take it. Want to watch a video video of me playing with the Volcanic card, well, I have a video right here. Or if you'd like to learn more about the Volcanic cards themselves, well, I have another video right here. Don't forget to subscribe because it means a lot. But other than that, thank you all for watching. Catch you later.